Welcome back to the Coach Mack Show. Coach, we had the Hawkinsville Red Devils Friday night, the second round of the playoffs. Another thrilling game. Didn't quite go the way we wanted, but what a night.
It really was. It was a great atmosphere. We were able to start the game early. I think a lot of people appreciated that. It had just a completely different atmosphere, starting when the sun was still up and then kind of going from there. We talked last week about how this was going to be a tough game. Each and every week in the playoffs, it simply gets tougher, and this is no exception. We knew we were going against the best defense and statistically the best defense in the state, and by far the best defense in single A. We knew that was going to be tough. We knew it was going to be tough running the football, throwing the football, really doing anything. And it came to be true. Now, our defense, on the other hand, I thought played an outstanding game. We really only had 2 busts on 2 pass plays that were big, but I thought our defense played a tremendous game. Just really matched their defensive effort the whole night. I guess the difference would be, we gave up that touchdown on a big pass play, got down by the goal line. They were able to stick it in, and then we had to work all night long to get the ball down, and we got down there. We never could come away with anything. And then finally, with, 20 seconds to go in the game, we finally score our first and only touchdown of the game. And then we, go for the extra point for the win, and it comes, a little wide right. And then we send that thing we send it in overtime, and in overtime they scored on the first play. We fumbled on the first play. But if you love defensive football, you'd love this football
that was
game.
A game.
It was hard-hitting, great defense, a lot of effort by everybody. No quit in our kids, their kids.
No, not at all.
But it was really just a good football game, and I'm really proud of the way our kids showed up to play. Early in the year, if you'd have told me that we were going to be 10-2 state quarters, I would have took it, and I'd been shocked if that was be the case. But it is, and I'm so real pleased with the effort our kids gave all year long, and it came up a little short.
Yeah, that effort on defense. I mean, those guys, something would happen, they go right back out on the field, and it's the same effort. They never let up. Our defense, I'm talking about our defense, the Indians' defense, the other defense, we know how great they played. But our guys really, they
really did. Our offense didn't give them much of a break. Our offense wasn't on the field very long at times, and it seemed like we were always just 3 and punt. And Tevis Dasher did a good job punting.
He did.
Kept the ball down there pretty well. Good coverage by the team. But it goes back to really we had to somehow generate some offense, and we just were unable to. We knew it was going to be tough. Nobody's really done anything against them all year long offensively, but we talked all week long about just, generating some offense, try to create some big plays in special teams. We tried to, you saw we went after the punter several times and come up short there, but again, it goes back to what a great effort from our players, and I'm really pleased with the job they did.
And there was no quit, right? Like you said, right down to the last 28 seconds. A little bit of deja vu from the Lincoln game. I think we converted 3 or 4 fourth downs again.
Exactly. It was just, you look at your playoff run, although it was 2 games, and what was it, Lincoln County, you're having to drive the length of the field and get the ball in to put it in overtime. And the same thing this time. We had to drive the ball the length of the field again. I believe it was over 90 yards again, and get it down there and put it in for a touchdown. A big catch by Scott Birchall. What a big play by our senior, Scott Birchall. And then again, of course, come up short on the conversion. But again, not placing any kind of blame on anybody.
No,
there was a lot of things we could have did earlier in the game to make it where it wasn't that situation where we relied on a kick at the end. But again, it's just an incredible job, especially by our defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, something you and I talked about a little bit before the show here. I saw I might have the channel wrong, I believe it was channel 12 or 4, the Lincoln County game, the last play of the game to win it, Jimmy Nettles to Kurt Nixon. That made the Jacksonville area top 5 plays, season finales of the year, and they showed that highlight. So
well, we talked earlier in the year about how seems like every one of our football games has come down to the end, where our kids have had to really play hard throughout the fourth quarter. And then we get to the playoffs. They got the Clinch County game, which we had to score at the end for the win, and then you have these 2 playoff games, which came down at the very end. Our kids have had to fight all year long, and really going into the season, we talked about this group being an inexperienced group, didn't know what to expect from us. And for us to be able to win 10 games with this group, I feel really, really good about that.
And this group's we're going to talk about the 2014 Region 2A team, and this group is well represented on there.
It really is. We got a tough region. You look at, we have, going into the playoffs, we had 4 of the 16 teams from our region, and this region produces a lot of talent each and every year. So to make the first team or second team all region, and this region is really saying something, because you're going against a lot of experience, a lot of very, very good, talented football players. So, I know we're going to talk about our all-region guys, but again, it's just really what a great job for those kids to even make that team.
We can go in and dive into that if you want to now, Coach.
Well, our all-region team is selected by the region head football coaches. We get together the first Tuesday after the regular season. We get together and we really just go through everybody's nominees, and we select the best players at each position according to votes. And it's kind of interesting, because we know a lot about each other's kids simply because we watch so much film on each other.
Right.
So when you talk about a kid, you know what they're talking about when they bring him up. But on the offensive side of the ball, of course, we had Andrew Lee. He made first team. And Andrew Lee, again, had over 1,400 yards rushing for the second year in a row, had 19 touchdowns, carried the ball 205 times, a real workhorse for us this year. Also on the offensive side of the ball, we threw the ball very well. We threw the ball this year for over 1,400 yards. So as far as offense, we ran the ball for just shy of 2,000 yards, and we ran and then we threw the ball just shy of 1,500 yards. That's pretty good offensive output. We just didn't come away with enough points this year, I don't think, without those kind of yards. But also at receiver, you have Cavante Nash, who's a senior, and you have Kurt Nixon. Both are seniors.
Right.
And those guys were first-team all-region wide receivers. And then we have one guy on the offensive line, and that's number 58, Levi Cribb, who's also a senior. So on the offensive side of the ball, we had 4 guys. On the defensive side of the ball, we had the Defensive Player of the Year in Anthony Jackson. And of course, Anthony finished the year, playing inside linebacker with 92 tackles. He's a big kid, 6'4", 200 pounds. Plays sideline to sideline, and he was recognized by all our coaches as the Defensive Player of the Year. Also on the defensive line, we have Mookie Smith. He's a sophomore defensive lineman. And then at linebacker, we have Mac Barlow and Tevis Dasher. We've talked a lot about Mac Barlow. Yeah. He's a guy that if you looked at him, you'd never think of him as a football player, just according to his size. But he has the biggest heart, and about the biggest thing you could say about him is he's a football player. He just gets the ball, and the people in our region really recognized him for his efforts there. And in the secondary, number 15, Brad Milton, who's a junior. Defensive back, first team all region. As far as special teams go, we did a pretty good job as far as in the special teams. Of course, Thomas Johnson, Tomcat, our kicker, was first team all region kicker, first team all region long snapper. Again, last year he was, this year he is also, is Scott Birchall. And then first team all region punt returner and kick returner is Kurt Nixon. So it's a great job for those guys. And on the all-freshman team, we had Eric Daniels, who started most of the year in the secondary. So Eric Daniels, first-team all-region freshman team. And then the all-academic team, it's led by Isaac Gillis, who has a perfect 4.0.
Man, that's amazing.
The all-region team, the academic team is really made up of guys who are in their junior and senior year. Mm-hmm. We don't really go any lower than that because the list would be really big. And, of course, a lot of those kids will have pretty good GPAs, and they haven't taken their tougher classes yet.
Right.
But our all-academic team is, Isaac Gillis, Kurt Nixon, Levi Cribb, Brandon Dale, Trent Mahoney, Andrew Cruz, Tyree Gibson, and Caleb Hodges. All those guys are in the high 3.5, 3.6 grade point average. So real pleased about that.
That seems to be consistent on that stat.
It sure does. We're real pleased with the job that those guys. In the second team offense, we had Scott Birchall made second team offense at wide receiver. And I think on a lot of teams he might have made first team. It was just the fact that we had 3 very good wide receivers. Yeah. It's hard to get 3 guys in a position that they're only going to select 4 for. But Scott, very good job there. And on the offensive line, Andrew Chesser was second team all-region on the offense. On the defensive side of the ball, we had 3. Tion Burrows, which I think very well could have been first team, but he was voted second team by the coaches. Devin Hannons, who was hurt at the end of the year, second team linebacker. And then Eric Daniels, who was second team defensive back as a freshman, which is really, really good on his part. And then, of course, honorable mentions. We have, quite a few honorable mentions. T.J. Wilson at linebacker, Brandon Dell at defensive back, Trent Mahoney offensive line, Jimmy Nettles at quarterback, Eric Daniels at running back, Ethan Sauls at wide receiver, Jay Cruz on the offensive line, Caleb Johnson at center, and then Omar Lewis on the defensive line for us. So again, really proud of those guys, and again, in that all-region meeting, you get to find out what other coaches think about your players. Sometimes you're disappointed, sometimes you're pleasantly surprised that they thought this kid was maybe a little better than you thought he was, but it's a very interesting meeting because, we all try to do a good job for each other's kids and not just always try to pick your own. We try to make it to where if you're named first team all region, it really means something. It really means that you are a good football player and you are one of the better football players in our region, which we believe our region is one of the best in the state, so we feel like you're one of the better players in the state. I think they'll go from this and you go from this and you try to get some of these top players nominated for all-state teams. And hopefully I think Anthony Jackson probably has a good chance for an all-state team. We hope he gets recognized there. And we'll see what happens. That usually comes out close to Christmas time. I think the Atlanta Journal-Constitution will come out with their all-state team and hopefully has a chance to make that.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Can we go back to Mac Barlow and the linebackers for just a second on the all-region team? That just strikes me because this was his first full season at linebacker, right?
It really was, and not only that. If you were following us all year long and you saw our scrimmage, you might have saw us take Mac Barlow and he started the game off as a strong safety, and then during the game he played some free safety. We were just talking about this today in our last coaches meeting, and there was even some time we thought about playing him at defense corner. And then we looked at him on the offensive side of the ball, and we just knew this kid was a football player. We knew this kid had something to him. We just didn't know exactly where to put him. And then out of necessity, very, very early on, we put him at inside linebacker. And you look at the guy, you never think this is an inside linebacker. Right. I mean, he's probably all of 5'8" and maybe 165, 70 pounds. And we put him at inside linebacker, and he comes away with 51 tackles on the year and plays all over the field and has six quarterback sacks from the inside linebacker spot, 2 fumble recoveries. Then he also had 1 block kick. The kid just did an incredible job. And what I told a lot of our younger players is so many people get wrapped up in your height and your weight. You look at a guy like Mac. Mac has done a great job in the weight room, and he is somebody that just has a tremendous amount of desire and a tremendous amount of heart. And I told our younger players, that right there is enough. Right there, if you have desire and you have heart and you really love the game of football, you can find a place on the field to play. And that's exactly what Mac did. Mac did it. He did it the way where, he don't say anything. He just comes out and every day and keeps working and working, and to the point to where at the end of the year he ends up one of our team captains. And he ends up just being an incredible inside linebacker and somebody that we look at and you say, what are we going to do next year? Who's going to be there? So we got a lot of holes, and I know we're going to talk about that in the next segment. But some of these seniors and some of these really good players on this all-region team is going to leave some big holes for us to fill. Oh, yeah. Well, congratulations to all of those, Coach, to the all-region team. And we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll start talking about the holes we're going to fill and some players that have moved on. Okay.
The Folkestone Pharmacy, your original hometown pharmacy for over 45 years, is a proud sponsor of Charlton Sportsnet broadcasts. Folkestone Pharmacy accepts insurance from most local employers, including the City of Folkestone, Charlton County, Babcock and Wilcox, AJM, Charlton Memorial Hospital, and many others. The Folkestone Pharmacy wishes the Indians best of luck this season. Okefenokee Rural Electric Membership Corporation offers more than dependable electrical energy at a competitive price. Quality service is provided by a friendly and professional staff trained to meet your every electrical power need, whether residential, commercial, or industrial. If you have any questions or need information, call us at 1-800-262-5300. 888-888-5131. Okefenokee REMC, owned by those we serve. A proud sponsor of this year's Indian football broadcast.
All right, welcome back to the Coach Mack Show, our second segment. Coach, let's talk about the guys that have gone on and played. They're playing college ball now. Some of them are in playoff situations this past weekend.
That's right. We have over at Valdosta State, they're getting ready for the Division II quarterfinals. And we have two guys starting over there at Valdosta State, Donovan Bolden, who's just really having an incredible year at wide receiver and has done a great job, and also Brent Wiles, who does all the long snapping for Valdosta State. Both those guys, Charlton County graduates, and they're in the middle of a playoff run. I think Saturday at noon they're playing in Valdosta against West Georgia, I believe it is, West Georgia, who they beat earlier in the season. If they can win this one, then they're on to the national semis. So that's really exciting. I know that we're going to load up and go over and watch them. So now that we're done, we got time to be able to do a few other things, and I think a lot of us are going to load up and go over and watch those two play on Saturday, which is going to be exciting. But also this Saturday, real exciting for some of the people in this area. Chris Milton and Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets went and beat University of Georgia at Georgia. As they say, for the state championship. So I had a chance to watch that. Chris Milton first of all, Chris Milton's an incredible kid. He comes from some incredible parents, so it ain't all his doing, but Chris has just done a great job for Georgia Tech, and it was really exciting to watch him have the kind of success down there in Sanford Stadium and up in Athens, and I know that they're real excited, their family's real excited, and of course Chris is just doing an incredible job at Georgia Tech on the field and in the classroom. Also at Wake Forest, Anthony Wooding finished up his college career when they played Duke this weekend, but Anthony has been invited to play in an all-star game in the Bahamas. So he sent me a copy of the letter he received, and so I know he's excited about that. But hopefully Anthony's going to have a chance to maybe play some more football down the road, maybe at the next level, maybe even get a shot to be looked at in the NFL. Earlham College, Michael Alberts, his second year at Earlham up in Indiana, and he started last year as a true freshman, starting this year as a sophomore.
Very good.
We have Will Gowan down at JU, who was a redshirt freshman on the defensive line, and then we have two of our former players last year at North Georgia Prep, and that's Trey Harrington, our quarterback punter from a year ago, and also our all-time leading tackler, Lance Thompson's up there at North Georgia, and both those guys I know are being looked at by other colleges to continue their career. I know Trey Harrington, Reinhardt University up in North Georgia, they're playing Division II football. I know that they're really interested in Trey. Hopefully that works out for him. But again, at Charlton County, we always you got great football on Friday nights, and then you can turn on the TV and follow some of our former players on Saturday afternoon. So that's always been a lot of fun. I
know Glenn keeps everybody up to date on those guys too. I'm sure he was pulling some of his hair out though between his Bulldogs and Chris Milton this weekend. I'd like to hear his take.
Well, I always tend to go with the former players, so I was fine with the outcome of that game.
All right, Coach. Let's move on to the Indians for 2015. Got a lot of seniors moving on, hopefully to the next level, and some moving on jobs, careers, and everything. Let's talk about the holes or the positions we have to fill next season.
Well, we do have a lot of holes to fill, and to be honest with you, it's somewhat exciting for a coach because for me, part of the job that we really enjoy is building. We enjoy building. We enjoy today in our meeting room. After we dismissed last year's seniors and we announced that you guys are now the seniors, the new group of seniors, and we gave them this piece of paper that shows all the holes that we have to fill, and this just was taken from the starting lineup from Friday night, and I told them, I said, just because your name's on here, just because you started last Friday night, don't mean you have anything wrapped up for next year. But even that being the case on offense, we usually play with a 4 wide receiver set. We only got one coming back. And that, Ethan Sauls, our quarterback's back. But again, Jimmy Nettles did a great job coming off the B team. And I told him, just like I told our backup quarterback, A.J. Bell, I said, I want you two to compete for the job this spring. Again, plus, I think it's going to make both of them better
if
they do compete for that. And at running back, I feel like we've found ourselves another running back to where we may have like a 1A and a 1B next year, really, with Andrew Lee being back and now with Eric Daniels coming on. If we can get Eric Daniels stronger in the weight room, I really think he can be one of those 1-2 punch type things, and maybe we can use both of them at the same time. On the offensive lines, we're really going to take a hit for graduation. We had 4 starting seniors, only one back, Andrew Chesser. So we're going to be looking for 4 starters on the offensive line that are going to start their first varsity football game, probably against Pierce County or Manchester next year.
Welcome to varsity.
Yeah, so right there, really only have four offensive starters back. So we've got a lot of holes to fill. On the defensive side of the ball, we feel pretty good about our defensive line.
Yeah.
Most of those guys are back. Toby Dasher, we hope to have Toby back. He had knee surgery about a week ago. He's going to have another knee surgery in about a couple months. We're really hoping he comes back. If he comes back, we're going to have an outstanding defensive line. But even if something was to happen and he can't play, with Omar Lewis back and Tion Burrows and Mookie Smith back on the defensive line, we feel pretty good about that. But again, at linebacker, we usually play with a 4 linebacker set. All 4 of them are gone. All 4's graduated.
Really?
Devin Hannons played a lot of linebacker last year. He was injured Friday, so he wasn't on the starting lineup. I consider him to be a starter for next year. With that even being the case, we're still looking for 3 starting inside linebackers.
Right.
And then in the secondary, we have 2 guys back in the secondary, Brad Milton and Eric Daniels, which we talked about Eric Daniels, freshman this year. He may end up moving closer, maybe more like an outside linebacker. He's a great tackler, and he may move closer to outside linebacker if we can find some secondary help. And Brad Milton, first-team All-Region defensive back, he's back at defensive back. So on the defensive side of the ball, we're needing 6 guys. We have 5 back, needing 6 guys. Special teams, only 1 guy back in the special teams, and that's Tomcat. Tomcat, we expect him next year to hopefully kick the ball in the end zone and make 30 and 40-yard field goals all the time. But again, for the second year in a row, we're going to be looking for a punter, long snapper. We're going to be looking for a punt return guy and a kick return guy. Now, if you watched our last 2 B-team games, you probably have an idea who that's going to be.
I have a pretty good idea. Are we allowed to throw a name out, Coach?
Well, even though Raekwon's going to be a freshman, we fully expect him to be catching punts and taking them back for touchdowns next year, hopefully. And the exciting part of this is going to be is we're going to have a lot of young kids really competing for a lot of these positions. And you got a guy like Mac Barlow this year, who a year ago, we never thought Mac Barlow would have been our number 2 tackler and a all-region inside linebacker.
Yeah.
Who'd ever thought? So right now, somewhere in that room today, when I was talking, or even out that middle school with those 8th graders, there's another Mac Barlow.
Yeah.
We got to believe that, and we got to believe that there's going to be somebody that's going to step up and be ready to play varsity football come August of 2015.
Yeah, it's gonna be an exciting off season around here with the spring the spring game. Get a little bit of a glimpse. It probably won't even be settled at that point, would it?
No, it never is. I tell our players all the time, I especially tell them in the spring, that each and every week I'll do a printout for the press box of our starters. And number one, you can take week 1 starting lineup that I give you guys, and then you can take the last week 10 starting lineup, and a lot of times they don't even look alike. And I tell them, competition never ends. Competition doesn't end. Just because come Manchester, when we go back up to Macon to play Manchester, just because you're on the starting 11 don't mean you're going to be on the starting 11 the following week or even the following week. And we always are looking for kids to compete, looking for kids to step up. And like I told the kids today, in rec football and rec sports are great, don't get me wrong, but it is set up to where kind of everybody gets to play type thing. Well, this is where that ends. I mean, at the high school level, we're playing the best guy. And we're simply going to play the best guy. We're going to play the guys that deserve to play. Don't get me wrong, but again, we've got to, and where that really comes down to is we got to trust that you're going to get the job done before we put you on the field. And you have to show us that in the weight room. You have to show us that on the practice field, in our conditioning program. Those are the things that we have to see from you before we're going to put you on the field and trust you to help the Indians win a varsity football game.
Because the ultimate goal is to go to the Dome. I mean,
Yeah, and that is the ultimate goal. But we have so many goals between now and that point.
Right.
We've and it's basically starting all over, trying to build a football team. Where it starts is in the weight room. January 6th is whenever our winter program starts. So January 6th, we're still going to lift weights. We got 14 days of school left till Christmas break. We're still going to lift weights. But when we get back to Christmas on January the 7th, we're going to really turn it up and really kick it in. And we're going to have that about 16-week summer or winter program that leads into spring football. And hopefully we're going to start filling in these blanks somewhere along the way.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we'll get them all filled in, and they'll be raring to go.
Well, we have to.
No doubt about it. Coach, while I've got you, before we leave, when did I guess it would be the Fall Sports Awards. When do those
It's going to be Thursday, January the 22nd.
Thursday, January 22nd.
And that's going to be at 6 o'clock in the CCH gym. That will be for girls softball. It will be for football. And we'll also recognize, of course, the cheerleaders, but they really do their awards after the winter program. But so Thursday, January 22nd, we're going to do the fall awards program. It's really a lot of fun to see because I think we do a really nice job with the plaques and the awards, and of course your wife is a big part of that. Tammy, you see her on the sidelines taking literally 1,000 pictures a game, we take that certain picture and we'll put it on a nice plaque for our kids. And I think it's really special the way we do it, and I'm really I know the kids appreciate it. So if hopefully we can talk about it, get the word out, and by the 22nd of January, maybe we can have a nice crowd show up at the awards program.
All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for everything this season. I had a blast. I know we keep Chris busy over there with my flubs and everything, but we appreciate it, Chris. It's been fun, man. All right, we'll see you, I guess, January 2nd, basketball is next time. We'll all see everybody at 6 o'clock. Coach, have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Thank
you guys, everybody have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you January 2nd at 6 o'clock.